Waving is the interpretation of water. I want to say specifically the ocean and the way that it ripples, the way that it carries the tides. To me, I feel like in essence, it's any and everything that can create a, how would you say, like a rise and a fall, a push and a pull. It's a movement that requires balance and not even like necessarily in like weight, but in understanding. That makes sense. But like the technical term, I would say like, yeah, waving is the interpretation of water. Not disturbed, but you know, as it's touched, the reaction. So when, I can't give the exact date, but it basically was birthed to my understanding in the 70s when popping was also, you know, introduced. But I want to say it was just more so incorporated a little bit later because then people were trying to find out how can they transition from move to move. So that's when they were like, ooh, I can ska, and, you know, find a through line to get from point A to point B if I don't know how to do it with my hits because it was birthed in popping and they used it a lot in popping. I mean, if we're talking elements, like legit elements, you have, of course, water, and you have fire, but then also you have smoke within that. Yeah, I think I would say like anything and everything that is, in essence, to flow is an important element. I feel like also breath is an important element. I feel being in tune, being intuitive is an important element. So all the things that I just listed basically have a contribution to you understanding the intentionality of how to wave and how to be immersed in the style itself, because when it comes to your breath, the rise and the fall, the more that you become steady with it, the more you start to realize it's like a float, a gentle float, and then you start to follow that, and then you start to realize that, oh, this is in essence, you know, waving. This is a piece, like a tiny piece. You stand in the ocean, you can still feel the sways that it gives you. So then when you start to think about what it would be like if you were to be a waterbender, even if you don't know what that is, basically somebody who has the ability to control water, even the elements that they use in the show are like Tai Chi elements, and it's about like the push and the pull and manipulating energy and allowing that energy to help you create an effect. So off the top, from the earliest days, especially from my exposure to them, David Elsewhere, Skywalker, Squid, and then much later, Boogie Frantic, Jay Smooth, Pac-Man, Philip Shabib. He had crazy waves. He don't be waving like that no more. I'm leaving a few, especially in my journey of where I saw it, how it also like inspired and influenced me. But I think David Elsewhere was my first person that I realized was like, oh, he's taking this like to another level. And then after that, I had homies that introduced me to Skywalker and Squid. And then also Kid Boogie and Frantic were really great at providing me with the knowledge. Also know that there were very many, like No Bones Tyrone, Earl Stokes, Taco, Poppin' Taco. Poppin' Taco was one of the like more recognized, Wavo. Yeah, there's so many. The list is actually really long, but as of that, it's that. I don't even think it was a technique, it was more of an approach. I know like Elsewhere was really prominent with liquid, and I feel like Wavo was too. I mean, Skywalker, like all these people took like waving and really condensed it into its like most purest form of, which is the liquid, I feel, you know, like having the capability to take something that is formless and shapeless and starting to give it purpose because of where they were at in their lives. And I feel like that's also just very important, is understanding intention so you know how to approach the style and how you wish to contribute to the style and feel through the style. You know, and that's also another element too that's really important actually, is feeling. I mean, in terms of countries, I feel like USA is what influenced it, specifically LA, and more specifically Pomona, Long Beach. I'm blanking again on the other locations, but I would say it was here in LA, you know, as far as the influence and the trajectory of where it went before it went worldwide. Events, as of lately, Waves Within, has been one of the events that have been a contributor to the exposure of waving in its purest. There's other events that I can't speak of because they haven't happened yet. So the main foundations for waving are the arm wave and the tidal wave, or the body wave. And there are styles like the cobra and snaking that can be used. Personally, I use snaking for the base of movement and like to groove through my waving. So that's also like what I use to help me dance. And a lot of times it won't even be through the full capacity of what snaking is. I will like section it out through my chest into my hips, or vice versa, and create a intention, you know. And I think that's something that's really important, is also knowing your intention and how you wish to speak your heart, speak your mind, speak your soul through this movement, and using these two movements, but also knowing there is a world that exists around you that you can also apply these movements to. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to anything that you do, you can simply just wave through it to just move and practice simple intentionalities. And that's how you can, I feel, expand on the style. It's considered a waving style when you sit in the essence of waving. Aside from doing the techniques, I feel it's waving when you are wholeheartedly in that essence. You know what I mean? And when it's borrowed is basically when it's used as a transition, like how it is in popping. But now you have people crumping that are also using waving, and it's utilized in a much broader way than a transition, but still, nevertheless, it's still a transition. And you could say it's borrowed in that sense. But when you can look at somebody and be like, oh, they're waving, it's when they're just purely in what you can identify as water, air, breath, ebb and flow, so on and so forth. I feel like that's solely up to the person, but typically it could be, firstly I feel like it was funk music. It was funk music to understand how to stay on rhythm and how to stay in that heartbeat. Now even in that way, like a heartbeat creates a sinus wave, and that is also waving, you know? But now, as of lately, like personally, I dance to R&B, soul, neo soul, depending on the texture that I want to approach. It could even be rock music, it could even be crump music, it could even be hip hop music, you know what I mean? Anything that gets you to feel, I feel is more important than the music, but also, yes, the music is very important. So, to sum it up, soul music, R&B, and like electro, experimental. There it is.
Okay.
Right. Okay. She's got to put another tape in it. All right. So, in conclusion, I would say R&B, soul, electro, and experimental. I love practicing to hip hop music because of the groove, but I also love practicing to R&B and soul and atmospheric music as well, but it's not even like music because it's atmospheric. But we could say atmospheric, soul, R&B, hip hop. Those are the top. Ooh. This is the question where you really get to know me. Actually, so I had an incident in 2018 where, in short, I passed out and I didn't know what happened. I was like, ah. And I developed anxiety from it, and I was not even understanding to anxiety and all its traits and how it comes and goes and how people navigate it. And the only way that I knew how to was through practicing waving, because it would help me regulate my breath. And by regulating your breath, you're also able to regulate your nervous system to ground yourself. And so in 2018 was the start of my deep dive. I've been waving since before then, but I really used waving as a self-soothing tool to just ground me in any circumstance. And sometimes I would just even be sitting down and I'll do little hand waves and just breathe, just so I can feel something in my body and to know that I'm good, I'm fine, I'm okay, nothing's wrong. And waving has actually been the biggest tool in my journey of healing. And it's really also been the biggest teacher in patience and grace, and also just allowing yourself the space to fail because you don't know how to feel something just yet. And the only reason why is because you're not exposed to it. So you have to acclimate yourself to a feeling so you can understand that feeling, and then you can understand what you want to do with that feeling, whether you want to keep it or let it go. The music always inspires me, but it's the feeling. I feel like when it comes to waving, I definitely chase the feeling, because the feeling is what drives it. You know, like if you can't feel, you can't know what you're doing, or you know where you're going. And I feel like that's kind of just life. If you don't know how to assess your feelings, and you're not going to know how to progress moving forward. And so anytime that I step into waving, I step into it with the intention of deeper self-discovery. And so with that, I'm like, I have to face myself in some capacity in order to understand where I want to grow from and through. So the feeling is definitely the thing that drives my approach to waving. Kind of like a child playing in a playground, whether it be on a swing or sliding down a slide. I experience it in the highest of joys. Even if I'm feeling really low, the moment that I step into it, it starts to elevate me to a much higher place. And oftentimes it elevates me to a place of clarity and something that I might be unclear about. And also sometimes I like experience myself. Okay, so firstly, I experience myself through a lens because I film. So I'll, of course, film myself, and then I'll assess through that. But then the way that I also like to experience myself is going to the park and dancing under this big-ass tree, and also allowing nature to move me and guide me through an experience. Because I also know it's not solely just me, I start to pay attention more. And then I start to become my own teacher in that way as well. Yes, waving is very limitless, and there's so much more to it than what we understand it to be within popping, but also in respects it can still be utilized in popping in however way you want, but also you can approach it in any way you want as long as you stick to the values of what it is, you know, stick to the essence of what it is. You can find ideas to help you also find deeper understandings in the movement, and don't be afraid to try them. Don't be afraid to try anything when it comes to waving, and allow yourself to be a student within every moment that you spend with it. Throw fear out the window, because that's going to be the biggest thing that can hold you back from the joy that you would experience from experiencing waving. Anything that is rooted in fear is just a waste of time.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure.